one of the reasons I like the coaching program is I get to work one on one with somebody where we can talk about what their vision is, and I can kind of jump in, and I'm really good at looking at structure and making sure that certain beats are working for the story. And what's amazing is if I have the whole picture in mind of what somebody's trying to accomplish, then I we can kind of go backwards and try to figure out where things may not be working. And the end goal for me and for the author ideally is to when we you or me or whoever sends this to an editor, that they have this amazing experience where they can't put the book down because we've done everything right. So um I like the personal relationship of working on something over a period of time rather than just kind of. I mean, I've also done one-on-ones where I just look at something quickly and say try this, but it's more satisfying when I can see the changes being made over time and feel like I'm actually having an impact on the work. And it doesn't matter whether it's fiction or nonfiction because I'm looking at the whole story. Nonfiction is easier because it doesn't have to be necessarily narrative; it could be prescriptive. Um, Whereas for a memoir, it's more like a novel. And then with fiction, everything has to work to make it the story as good as possible. It's not about the pieces of it, like if somebody's an expert in writing um, a practical book or a prescriptive book, that's easier to solve any issues in the manuscript or the story. But fiction can be very tough because and it's why I think we should have an introductory meeting where we talk about what our expectations are. Because if you come in and you're not open to changes, then it may not work. For one thing, you have to enter into a mentorship with the idea that you need help. You've taken something as far as you can go on your own or with your own writing group, and you need somebody else with a lot of experience to maybe help guide you with anything that's still missing. So, from my point of view, I'm giving you feedback based on the tens of thousands of either rejections or feedback that I've gotten from editors working in, the big five publishers in North America, well, actually internationally. But there's a lot of little publishers that in other languages that aren't necessarily big five. Um, so because I've gotten all this feedback and I've had conversations and lunches and drinks and emails from all these people, what I've kind of have of a sense of what you need to do, the kind of minimum that you need to have to get their interest. And so I guess the advantage of having an agent versus an editor or another writer, and that feedback is important too. Don't get me wrong. Having a good peer, another writer, give you feedback is great, and even an editor who's maybe looked at a bunch of things and looked at patterns and cycles and stories, that's useful. But what an agent can give you, nobody else can give you, because we're on the front lines talking to editors every day and getting passes often and occasionally an offer. So we're right there in the moment, and that is the vital advice that we can give you on your project. Um, I think the most important thing, other than the experience and the feedback that I'm going to give, and ideally it's good feedback, and we agree that I can explain. I guess if you don't understand why I'm thinking that way, then my job is to be able to explain and persuade you that it is right. So that's one thing. But the the essential thing. Okay, I'm getting a little lost in my head here. Let's do that one again. My approach is I want to give you the best feedback that I can give you. And I think it's important that we start with a kind of shared vision of what the book is. And then I think the next step would be that we agree on what might have to change with the story or characters or whatever. So, I mean, I will start from scratch and I'll say half of this isn't working. I think the most important quality that I have is I'm really upfront and honest about it, because I can't afford to con you. I'm not going to say, oh, this is you're brilliant. And actually I have seen where authors have come to me with feedback from other people saying how brilliant they were. I'm like, no, they're wrong. This will not sell for these reasons. And then it's like a disconnect in their heads. They're going to say, well, I thought it was really much closer. So the honesty is important because I think there are some people that will take your money and lie to you, which I will never do. And I'm in this for the same reason that you are, which is to get a great work out there, ideally published. But nobody can guarantee that until a publisher offers you a contract. So my approach is just to take everything that I know, put it into your project, and to see how far. Ideally, my biggest challenge is how much you're willing to go with it. And almost, I can tell you, if you Google me or look at what some of my clients have said about me, almost everybody who's listened and done their homework, we've been able to do something. If not an actual sale, which is most of the time, then we came close, and then we have a plan B. Sometimes, that's all you get. It's a really tough industry. Nobody, there's 15 million writers in North America working on things, and they're not all going to get published. So my goal is to help you get published. Well, what I'm trying to do is instruct through ideas and anecdotes. So what I can do is if we're talking about a specific part of a manuscript, I'm going to give you examples of other works of other books, other like movies I like a lot, TV even. We'll talk about stories in general and how you can maybe fix things that I might have identified as being problematic or might be problematic to an editor. So I instruct a lot with illustrations and anecdotes and things that have happened because I'm trying to persuade you that it's the right way to go. Now, having said that, I can't tell you what to write, or if I can't convince you that I'm right, then maybe I'm not. And I'm okay with somebody saying, but Sam, you're thinking about it differently. This is what I'm trying to do. And I'll say, oh, okay, well, I didn't get that. So the communication and the trust has to be there, and it has to be built up over time. For most of these mentorships, it's a series of meetings where, it's the journey of how do I improve the manuscript to a level where I think somebody will be interested. So it's a collaboration between me and you, ideally, a good collaboration. Ideally, I will challenge them to do better and to give me more. So the idea is that they have a better sense of what they might be trying to accomplish after than before. And ideally, it'll be in the manuscript. I don't know that I need you to understand what it is you're doing until after. I just need, my goal will be to get you to focus on what the issues are with the manuscript. So I think a lot of people, when they look at what they've done after and they read it again, they'll say, oh, I kind of get what I did. I understand now. But you almost always, this isn't the kind of thing where you have to understand the theory to fix a book. You fix the book, but you have to kind of trust the person that you're doing the right things. And then you might understand later, especially as you start to, the way that a lot of us in this industry understand things are when we read other works or we see other projects that are like, oh, this is how they solved that problem that I had. And there's different ways of solving things. You don't always know what you've done until much later. And of course, the easiest way that you've done something right is when you get an editor reading your book and not passing after the first part saying I didn't really, you lost me, or it didn't maintain interest for me. So my goal is to get them to read as far as possible, and then to say, oh my God, I can't live without this book. So yeah, I can't really speak much to what you're going to learn. I'm going to try to teach you everything I know, but I know that I've had writers that have come back to me much later. Like, when you told me this feedback 2 years ago, I didn't really understand it, but then I dealt with all this other stuff and now I'm back. So it's not easy to learn anything for some people. So I can't guarantee what that experience is going to be, but I do know that a lot of people appreciate the feedback. And uh, yeah, I think that's it.